Welcome to the MarTech Matrix, the podcast that cogently uncovers the business problems each tech company was built to solve. Today, Sean speaks with Sadi Gumhiwa and Ryan Joy from Velou, an AI-powered data enrichment platform. Sadi is the founder and CEO of Velou. Ryan is their head of US sales. They will be discussing how brands can get rich AI-powered product data for every product in their catalog and why this is so important to an e-commerce business from search to conversion. After the show, head on over to themartechmatrix.com for show notes, contact information, and details on upcoming episodes. Now, get ready to enter the Matrix.
Sadi, Ryan, welcome into the Matrix. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us, Sean.
We're excited to have you here. I think there's a lot of nuance to this conversation, and hopefully we can explain some of it to our listeners. But before we jump in, can you explain exactly what rich product data is? Sadi?
Yeah, hi, Sean. Great to be here. Thanks for having us. To explain rich product data, think about a customer going on a summer vacation and she wants to find a resort style outfit for a beach getaway. And she may be looking for some elegant sandals with a low heel or a wide brimmed straw hat and a long strapless floral dress. And then maybe a slit in the dress because she's anticipating hot, humid weather. And she may also be looking for these products by brand or a designer that she likes. So product data basically refers to any of the words that I use to describe each of these products. And it's really about the specific details relating to these products. And this level of richness is really identifying as many of these details and then structuring that information into how customers naturally think about the products that they want to buy.
Okay. So how does Velou help brands improve their product catalog?
Yeah, Sean, I think the best way to think about that is really like if take it from a retailer perspective. So from a retailer, when you can connect the language that customer uses, and that language is changing, right? It's not static. To match the products that you have, you're making it very easy for them to engage with you as a brand, engage with you digitally. Obviously, that's much easier said than done. If you think about all the possible variations of languages and words that we as human beings use, finding or improving the right product data can be really time consuming for these brands. It also can be compounded when you think about multi-brand retailers like department stores or marketplaces. The volume of that product data needed or that they're using can be almost overwhelming for these merchandisers. Take it a step further, couple it with the fact that these catalogs aren't static, which is a really important part of this. And as we enter spring at the moment, teams are racing to add products for the new season to the catalog, or there's even brands out there that are adding new products on a daily basis. There's just a lot of challenges that the brands and retailers have when facing it. So at Velou, what we do is we leverage artificial and automated intelligence. So retailers are not only understanding the language that is being used now, they'll have the ability to understand the language that may be used in the future, but we're also using that to complete the metadata within the product catalog, which improves the overall catalog and experience for these consumers on their sites.
Got it. Okay, so just to clarify that, if for someone who's not experienced with this category, it's typical for a brand they have their catalog and they have some kind of description, right? Some kind of layman's description.
Yep.
Red V-neck T-shirt. But I think what you're saying is that people from different places, people different times of the year, different languages, people might search for red V-neck T-shirts differently. Maybe it's for the beach, a red V-neck T-shirt for the beach, or red floral T-shirt, or something for a party, right? Like they just add in other words that you could just never think of ahead of time. And so Velou is sort of learning, right, through the AI, how people are searching and then augmenting the catalog feed so that it captures that user's search next time.
That's a great example. And an even easier way how I think about it with my own family, like how my wife would search for, how I would search for something to buy for my wife and how she would search for that same product to buy for herself is totally different language that we would use. She's got a much more sophisticated color palette, right? Or I would say blue dress, she may say teal or aqua, or use 2 or 3 different ways.
Right.
And then if you want to layer in my kids, right? Like I don't even know if they speak English. Like it's a whole different lexicon that they're using to search. And so it's constantly changing. I think we've talked about this in the past too. It's not just the consumer side of it as a brand, right? Like you may be having a sale, or there may be a new tagline or something that's on the site. And as much as they try, like the merchandising team may not have ever anticipated that. So that may not be in the metadata. And they don't honestly have an easy way to make those updates once a catalog is live.
Got it. You mentioned metadata. Obviously, I get the idea of you're cleaning up the feed and you're giving more options for search queries. Does augmenting the metadata help in other ways besides just on-site search? Like, is there other value to that for the brands?
Yeah, I think, and actually, as we talk about later, how brands are using it, it's everything. I think of it as a digital or an e-commerce retailer is always trying to bridge that gap between that online experience and the historical in-store experience. It's this idea of personalization. A foundational piece of personalization is the data, and the product data is a huge part of it, right? So anywhere that you are trying to better personalize, the better that product data is, the better that personalization or your odds of personalizing are. Like these brands have made investments in a ton of different technologies within their stack that can benefit from richer data.
Yeah, I imagine off-site search as well. Sadi, what sparked the idea for the company? Was there a specific problem that you faced or wanted to solve for?
Yeah, so I'm actually very particular about everything. So when I was trying to search for something specific in an online store in 2018, I felt really frustrated that I couldn't find it. Like I knew that this product was actually in the store, but I couldn't find it. And then, of course, coming from my background in engineering and AI, I couldn't stop thinking about how to build that perfect solution to solve this problem. So when I looked into the technology behind this on-site search, I came to the conclusion that the broken piece is actually the lack of product understanding and then the product details. So right now, most brands and retailers spend a lot of time and money on understanding the customers really well, thinking that will improve the customer experience. But when it comes to e-commerce optimization, there are two sides to the story. One is, of course, understanding the customer at the deepest level. And then the other part is understanding the product attributes or the product at the deepest level. If you don't understand the products at the deepest level, you cannot really connect the dots between the customer intent and then the products that you have in the product catalog. And that's the part that we have solved at Velou.
It's interesting because I'll think about my own personal experiences, and I think I search differently on my phone than I do on a website, right? I feel like I have more screen to type, so I'll be more specific maybe on my computer. It's funny when we think about like searching, like you're trying to find something specific. And I always use this example. I'll walk into a store, a physical store. I can see what they have. I can see, okay, I need a pair of jeans or I need a t-shirt. I see the wall, right? And there's all the jeans, or I'm thinking of like the Gap or something, right? And there's all the jeans on the wall. And I know if they don't have my size, my color that I want on that wall somewhere, they don't have it. But online, it's like this black hole of jeans. Like, how do I find the pair that I want? And is the one that I found, is it really the one I want? Because brands do they confuse you, right? You're like, I come in and I want a pair of indigo denim. And then I might also like these, they tell me. And then I start looking at those and I'm like, my head's about to explode. And I just walk away without buying anything. Where if I had just typed in exactly what I wanted, like I do, and they gave me exactly what I asked for because the description's there, I'd probably just buy the product and check out. So I can see the benefit for a retailer having that. If a brand isn't producing rich, I would say if a brand isn't producing rich AI powered data, let's call it, in their catalogs today, how does that impact the user shopping experience?
I guess you're, as a brand, I guess initially, right, you're blocking the ongoing pursuit of a consumer's instant gratification, right? Like they want what they want and they want it now, and they want to get it as quickly as possible. But to expand on that, Sean, I actually think your description is really apt, right? Like as a consumer, if we put ourselves in that space, which you just did, and we go online and we search, and we find that whatever we type in, and we're still having to scroll to find what we want, that those initial examples aren't there, or we don't have confidence even that everything that's on the page is everything that's an option for us, right? It leads to frustration. There's the downstream effect of, like, even what we order may not be exactly what we want by the time we get there, because it didn't pull up the right product. So I think your description again is really apt of what brands are setting themselves up for, the challenge they're providing for their consumers. So and this is a continuing challenge for the brands, because they need that data again to do this personalization, to be rich, to be relevant, and to continually reflect the language that a consumer is using. Excuse me. So back into Velou again, right? Like, so what our goal and our mission is to ensure that we're providing these retailers every attribute or piece of language that a consumer is going to use to find that product on their page. And I guess long term too, like encouraging users to be more descriptive in what they're looking for, because they have confidence that the products that will pop up is exactly what they want.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it puts the power back into the consumer's hand, right?
That's great.
And look, it's really easy for a consumer to say, oh, they don't have it, I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'm going to go back to Google and do another search and go there and go, right? So it's much easier than getting in your car, driving to the next store. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to just, fine, I'll buy this. But online, it's like, no, this is not exactly what I want, or this isn't what I searched for, so I'll go somewhere else. And they may very well have that product, it just didn't surface. So I think that's a perfect way to position it. So who's your ideal customer? How do you think about, like, who gets the most benefit out of Velou?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and these for everyone that doesn't know, I'm on the sales side of things, so that's always a difficult question to answer. But truthfully, I think our ideal customer is anyone that is looking, or, well, to be specific, like an e-commerce retailer, right? Like, we are retail specific, and there's a larger benefit, as we've talked about, for the e-commerce side of the business. But any of those individuals that are looking to improve or provide the best customer experience on their site for that consumer, right? I actually like the way you just put that, phrase that, putting the power back in the consumer's hand. Like, anyone that has a focus on that, like the personalization and the customer experience, is someone that we can help. This encompasses brands, it encompasses retailers, resale platforms, a global brand that's trying to do this in 20 languages. Like, all of those are folks that we're able to assist.
Yeah, look, I just thought of this. I'm tired of chatbots. Like, I don't want to talk to a chatbot to find a t-shirt or a pair of pants. So just to continue with the same scenario. Why is it so hard to surface? It shouldn't be, right? And don't make me go chat with somebody that's not even a person, that's not even going to give me the answer I want. So that's just going to frustrate me even more. I'm never going to come back. So go ahead.
Sorry, Sean, but to add to that, right? Like, that chatbot, no matter how good it is still dependent on the product data, like, that's there.
Fair
right
enough.
So if that language isn't there and it's not matching what you're using, it's probably going to frustrate you more, because now you're talking to a chatbot that still can't find what you want.
Yeah. So just to go a little deeper into the ICP, when you're out there in the market, who does it resonate with if you're having this conversation, right? That we've had so far, who is going to go like, yes, I need that? Is it the merchandiser? Is it the marketer? Is it the head of e-commerce? Is the answer just yes?
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes. The answer is yes. And we obviously don't have 2 hours on your show to dive into it. The use case is slightly different for each one of those. For merchandising teams, empowering them to do more productive, more strategic work is a huge benefit to this, right? It takes some of the mundane tasks of just getting products onto the site and making sure the accuracy of the data. The head of digital is always trying to improve the customer experience that is on the site. Saudi would probably say one of the first things that he started with was luxury, right? Because people are being much more specific about what they're wanting to get. But you could take, a wholesaler of outdoor gear, right? Like, we're still wanting to be very specific of what we're looking for. So it is really truly anyone that's trying to bridge that gap of the online and the in-store experience and empower the customers to find what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's funny. When you referred to personalization earlier, it's like how can you say you're focused on personalization if I can't even search the way I want to search, right? If I can't find the product for me, the way I think about that product, that's personal. Um, I want to just go back real quick on something. I get that this is sort of an automated AI type process and it's continually learning, which just sounds like a daunting task that obviously AI can handle. How is this done today? I mean, I know that it's not as good as the AI can because it's not going to capture all the different descriptive terms. But if I worked for a brand and I had this massive catalog, how am I creating these descriptions? Is it a manual process? Does it come from the manufacturer, or like how does it get into a catalog?
Saudi, I'll let you take that one. You
Yeah,
worked with a lot of these retailers.
yeah. I think there are two sides to this one again, Sean. If you take the brand or the retailer's perspective, they have some wording that they want to have, where it's really coming from a designer, for example, or like what the brand understands, right? So they go and enter this information. Of course, we have the merchandising team doing this work. But where we add value is that think of the customer-centric wording that is used to refer to this product. And the merchandising team does not have access to all of that information. Even if you have access, we're talking about millions and billions of data points, right? You cannot, physically go through all of that to come and enter that information into the attributes, into the product attributes. So this is where what we do come into play, where it's that super important, where we go through all of that data and then try to incorporate that into the product details, so that you are now connecting the dots between the customer intent of all of the customers that are coming through. And so it's done manually, and I think there are certain things that can be done manually, but really there is a big part of the customer-centric understanding of the product that is actually missing, and that's the part that where we add the most value.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think just from a time perspective, if I'm a retailer or a brand and I'm launching my new season, right, of products, summer, right, I can't imagine that. I have to imagine it's a long process to go through every product in the catalog and give it the attributes that come top of mind, like just to type it all in, and it's not
Yeah,
even going to be right or perfect or as good as
yeah,
it can be. So it's not just about the. I'm just thinking from the business perspective. It's not just about the personalization and the user experience, which are all super important. It's also about how much time is somebody in your organization spending doing this when they're not even doing the best job possible because they can't. It's not a personal thing, and they could probably do something more strategic with their time. There's just a huge time savings. So with that, where I was going with this is like with your customers, how do they measure success, or how do you measure success if you're working with a client, a brand, or a retailer? How do you measure your own success in terms of were you able to help them accomplish whatever their goal was?
yeah. So, at Velou, we are a very data-driven company. So everything that we do is to optimize the conversions and revenue for our customers. We also work closely with the brands and retailers and marketplaces that we work with to optimize the metrics that they care about, right? So, depending on the brand or the retailer, they might have some other metrics that they're trying to optimize. So, as an example, if we take the productivity aspect of it that you just described, there is a great example here where the merchandising team of a marketplace that we're working with, prior to Velou, it took them about 2 months to upload a new batch of products that they received, because they had to do exactly what you just mentioned, Sean, where they had to enter the information manually. Then they come up with the titles and descriptions, and then have it in other languages as well, and then put it online, right? Once they started working with us, essentially we've automated everything end to end. And then, so once you receive a product, that we generate the attributes, the titles and descriptions immediately, and everything is online on the same day. Now, this has a huge impact for this marketplace, because prior to that, they have the product ready, but it takes them 2 months, before actual customers see it. And so we've changed it from that to 1 day. And And so, yeah, so that has a big impact. And so that's on the productivity side, for the merchandising team. So, 95% of the work that they were doing manually is actually automated. And like how you said, Sean, they can focus on other more important tasks, right? And on the other side, by having these products online faster, now you're talking about increased revenue and increased conversions, because now there is a 2-month period where the product is online that you couldn't have before.
It's mind-boggling. I'm doing the math here. It takes them 2 months to get, let's just say, a season. Let's say it's the summer season, 2 months to get the catalog feed in the right shape so that they can upload it, and whether it's a marketplace or their own. Okay, that's 2 months per season. That's 8 months a year. The year's only 12 months. So they're spending 75, is that 75% of the year? Did you see where I'm going with this? Like, if they're spending 2 months to get something live, that's only a 3-month season, right? That just seems like a very inefficient use of time. They could think they have the best catalog feed ever, and they could capture every description possible to man, but the time to input it that's just wasted. This is just the reason I'm honing in on this is because we have a rule here about if you use the word AI on our show, you better be able to back it up. And honestly, this is one of the best uses of AI because it's truly not only a time savings. This is not about jobs. People are like, oh, AI is going to put me out of work. Like, this isn't something somebody should be doing. Like, this is a low level. Like, this isn't no offense to anyone, but like this, if you have a merchandiser, they're probably intelligent and really good at what they do, typing in descriptions, and it just seems like a complete waste of their skill set. So I think this is a really good use of AI, and I just wanted to call that out because we make it a point on this show to call it out if it's not. So I want to call it out when it is. Ryan, anything to add to that, or did Saadi hit it all?
No, I mean, I think I love the honing and the calling out of AI, and your follow up is right. Like the idea of empowering these intelligent people to be able to do the more strategic aspects of their job and not get stuck doing data entry in essence is a huge part of what we're doing. And as Saadi said, like, we are a really data driven company, but I think on like the business, like, or the customer facing part of the business, what's really exciting for me is the qualitative part of it as well. Like, we see over and over again, like, once this is launched and the product data enrichment is done and maybe we're supporting a channel, the customers come back like with other use cases or other ideas of how they'd like to use the data because they're seeing how powerful it is. So yes, we're very data driven, but we're seeing a lot of real world applications to expand it.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of use cases for this, going way beyond just the benefits of the search, right? Whether it's on-site search, off-site search, even in advertising. I'm sure we could be here all day talking about the use cases for it. How does somebody get started? So take us through that process from a brand today, and I'll give you we'll give you a scenario.
Yep.
It's a brand. I'm gonna, you go to their website today, and I type in whatever, and it's okay. Search is good. Might not be good tomorrow, right? Because some, things change, right? I might change the way I search. The weather might change. It's not always going to be accurate. So that's where the AI comes in and making sure we're capturing it. You're capturing it all. But so if you take a brand like that who's got an okay search, but they're doing it manually, right? Take me all the way through sort of how you get started, through how you scale your relationship with them so that they maximize their benefits from Velou.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that we do and what we pride ourselves on is the first step is understanding what they're doing now, right? Understanding what that existing stack is, what that existing workflow is, and how much of that, like, we're not here to upset the apple cart. So how much of that they like and what we can work within. We almost think of ourselves as the connective tissue of that existing stack. Like, these folks have done a lot of research and have done a lot of investments into the stack that they have, and most of them are really, really powerful. So yeah, that's the first part, is we really want to understand what they're doing and identify the best ways that we can enrich that data within that existing stack and find ways that we can optimize it. From like a to-do list, we can, again, we're very customer centric, so we can start by enriching an initial category, multiple like the categories, either like their top performing categories or their worst performing categories, right? Depending on how they want to do it. We also are more than happy to take the entire catalog. and at once as we're kind of working through the flow. And then the next step is just identifying like where do they want that enriched data to go. Again, we're very flexible in this aspect. It can go into a PIM, it can go into their e-commerce platform, search solution, really whatever they want to do. The perception from a lot of people initially is that this is really hard to implement. And we know how hard some of these integrations can be. I apologize for everyone that's listening if you hear a dog going.
That's okay.
I'm not sure what's going on outside.
Hopefully we'll edit them out.
Yeah. So anyway, to continue on, so the perception is that this can be really difficult, but our goal is to make this as simple as possible as we can by understanding the current workflow and improving that workflow for the customers.
Got it. I hope no one's breaking into your house.
No, he's just
your guard dog is ready to attack them. And it's all good, Ryan. So if we could just go a little further on that. So that's the getting started piece, really understanding their needs, their pain points, where they want to start. Is there, does it go further than that? So like, is it at that point, is it just, okay, we're optimizing your feed. We're, through the AI and we're getting all these descriptions and you're just continuously doing that season after season after season. What does that long-term relationship look like with a brand?
Yeah, no. So I think that's a good question and something I should have pointed out. So we have, it froze a little bit, but we have a client services team, right? So we'll meet with the customer on a regular basis, as much as weekly if they want, right? Like some customers only want to meet every couple of weeks or once a month. As Sadi said, we're very data driven. So looking at the data that we're seeing, looking at the enrichment that we've done, any trends that we're seeing. And so we're constantly looking at reports and reviewing that with the team, right? Like I think one thing to keep in mind with Velou as well is we're not a black box. Like we want these merchandising teams, they're experts in their companies and their brands. So we want to present the data in a meaningful way for them and then take the feedback and continue to optimize. So yeah, in addition to that initial like just implementation phase, like then it's continuing, a lot of people crawl, walk, run, like let's get you live, let's optimize that part of it. And then there's the continued learning, not just of the machine, but the reports and the human teams collaborating together.
I have to imagine too, for a brand to learn how their customers search for product is interesting, right? Not only for optimization purposes, but for product development, right? To understand like, what are people looking for? What don't we have that people are asking for a lot? Sadi, what are some common pitfalls, or if there are any, mistakes that people make when testing a solution like Velou? And how do you make sure that they're successful in that testing process?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of factors to keep in mind when you try to figure out what's working and what's not. So at Velou, we understand that each industry and each product category has a unique set of attributes relating to products. So as an example, for fashion, some basic attributes for a dress is something like the color, the fabric, the dress length, the neckline, and patterns. And this is different for another product category like shoes, right? So the attributes like heel height, material, closure type, and shape are the ones that might be applicable for shoes. So the first step is getting these attributes that matter for each of these product categories, and then the vertical right, because it's different for each vertical, right? And then each of the product categories. Without that, you're really setting yourself up for failure. And we've solved this by working with all of the experts in each of the different verticals. So we work with fashion stylists, for example, and then the home decor experts. And we built out all of these taxonomies for all different product categories. And that is the foundation of our solution. And the second mistake is thinking that, hey, generating more attributes per product is actually better. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it's really about generating the right attributes rather than generating as many attributes as possible. So what we do is that we obviously monitor how people are discovering products online, how organic traffic is coming from Google onto the site and then the product pages. And then we determine which attributes are important to generate, and that's what we take care of. And then the third part is thinking that the product attribute generation is actually a one-time activity, right? how people browse change over a period of time, the way people search for products change over time. So we continuously monitor this customer behavior and then update and optimize these product attributes as a result of that. So if you don't actually monitor and update continuously, you cannot have the same level of impact on conversions and revenue because you have stale data that you're looking at. So really, it's just a combination of these three things that needs to be thought through in terms of like how you think about success and failure of that project.
Yeah, I think one thing you said there, I wanted to call out. It isn't just about how people search on your site. It's understanding how are they searching on Google? How are they getting to your website? What is happening in the broader ecosystem that could influence the way people ultimately will search on your site? Ryan, anything to add to that?
No, I think that holistic approach that you just touched on is really important. It's not just what's taking place on the site, but the entire ecosystem. The last thing that really gets overlooked is the speed. And I think we touched on this previously in the conversation, like the length of time that it takes now, but like understanding the speed at which this really can be done. So kind of to summarize all of that, like the three main components when you're testing or even looking at vendors is the comprehensiveness of what they're doing and the attributes that can be done. And again, comprehensiveness doesn't mean, as Sadi said, the more attributes, the better, right? It's the comprehensiveness of the data that's informing those attributes that are going to be added. So they're the right ones, accuracy and the speed of which this enrichment can be done. If you get those three things right, you're setting yourself up for success.
I think the speed's key because the sooner you know something's not selling, the sooner you can sort of figure out how you're going to sell more of it before you have to put it on sale, right? And that plays into sort of the complete the look. And I imagine this feeds that as well. Like if you're presenting consumers with outfits that go along with a product they're looking at, having attributes that are more granular, it's going to make it for a better outfit, not just better search. So I like that. Can you share with us an example of a common use case, a client you work with, how you help them achieve their goal? Maybe what did the situation look like when they came to you? What did you do to help them? And how did you, what did success look like?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So I can give you an example of the impact that we made on one of the e-commerce retailers. So I can sort of also break it down into three different areas of impact, right? So one is the productivity that we talked about, where the merchandising team is impacted due to increased productivity, right? So as we previously discussed, we automate the whole end-to-end product attribution generation, titles and description generation. And this brings a 95% increase in productivity for this merchandising team. There was 98% decrease in errors compared to the manual work that they had to do. And then, like how we talked about, 23 times faster to market to list the product online compared to if you were to do it manually. And then the second area of impact is the product data enrichment on on-site search or discovery. So we make these products attributes available for the brand and retailers, the on-site search function, and that helps them to show the right products, especially for these long-tail queries, which are currently typically lost because you cannot really manage it manually. And we've seen an increase of 33% in conversions and a 31% increase in revenue as a result of that being able to capture the long tail of these search queries. And then the last piece is that we also make these product attributes available to optimize the SEO. So there is some metadata there, and then some of the URLs and a bunch of other optimizations that you can do. And then we've also seen this 20% plus increase in organic traffic coming to the store as a result of these optimizations. So you can see that the impact of having all of the right product attributes has this like profound impact on all different areas of the e-commerce store. And so this is why we believe this is a foundational piece of having everything else working right.
So when you launch with a new customer, do you set those sort of targets up to say, let's understand where you're at today in these things, and then in a month, let's measure them again to see how we're improving them? Is that typically how you set it up, or is there a real structure to it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're exactly right. In some cases, we do a side-by-side A/B test. In some cases, it's very obvious what the impact is. And in this case, like the e-commerce, the team or the merchandising team, they understand they already are struggling with this type of problem. So, and it makes it obvious. So yeah, we are always measuring, and like how we said, we are very data driven. And then we try to continuously monitor all of these things and then do the optimizations. And like how Ryan said, like we also meet either once a week or when it's appropriate for the customer to try to look at all of the results, look at our analytics. We provide guidance to them to say that like, hey, these are the other areas that we could actually help you with or that you could optimize on your own. That's the way we operate.
I like that. So it's not just trust us it's working. It's like true measurement, and then you're consulting with them to show them how they can get more benefit out of it. So that's really helpful and useful. What's the long-term vision for the company? Can you talk a little bit about your roadmap?
Yeah, so we have a very large roadmap, Sean, and it's ever evolving. But really, the foundational piece is what we talked about, which is relates to product data, right? So we do it better than anyone else in the industry, and our product data enrichment allows all of the brands, retailers, and marketplaces to provide that highest quality customer experience for their customers. And we also work with the e-commerce solution partners as well, where we work together to use Velou's product data to support various other aspects. Like how we talked about, we work with other partners who are doing on-site search, try to improve that experience, SEO agencies, the recommendations, the personalization and marketing automation. We really provide our product data in such a way that all of those, vendors and partners that a retailer works with to help to improve what they do as well. Because at the end of the day, we can work together collectively, add value to this brand, retailer, or the marketplace.
Got it. Ryan, anything else to add to that?
No, I always love hearing Saudi's answers on the roadmap. I think the one thing, and part of the reason it is an ever growing roadmap that's important to us too, is that the customer feedback, right? Our customers really drive our roadmap quite a bit. Once they start using the product, they have great ideas that bluntly they're in it every day that maybe we wouldn't think about. So a lot of customer feedback is driving the roadmap to make sure that it is impactful for these retailers.
I just have one last question. You talk about speed and efficiency and how it's done manually. Are there any solutions in the market, like I'm thinking about legacy solutions that brands are using today, that this sort of is an upgrade, that you're displacing them because this is an upgrade with AI? Or is this just a manual process that just there isn't a solution that's automating it in any way historically?
I think historically, all of this is being done manually, and then we see the challenges. This is why we've sort of standardized and normalized all of these taxonomies, and then so we can see that if we have 100 products coming in, we are able to do everything in a consistent manner, right? So up until now, at least we have seen even if you have like 5 people doing the work, they will enter 5 different attributes, for the same, values for the same attribute, because they're coming from whatever that their own perspective, right? And so these are the things that we are doing, where we are optimizing it in such a way that you can do it at scale, and then do it in a consistent manner. So really, we are focused on helping these brands, retailers, and marketplaces where they've done a lot of this work manually, and we're helping those teams to be more productive, and then also so that they can focus on higher order tasks.
No, that's great. The reason I asked that question is because over at Cogent, we'll get brands asking us, they'll say, this is my tech stack. What do I need to augment it? Or what should I be replaced? Is there something better than what I have? And they're just focused on the tech stack, and they're not really just focused on what are people doing manually. And so this is an important thing for us to think about when we're looking at those tech stacks. Gentlemen, this has been really interesting. I learned a lot. Hopefully our listeners have. I appreciate you being on the show. Maybe in the future, we can have you come back with a client and talk about their experience with you. I think that's a really powerful conversation to have for our listeners. But until then, take care, and thank you for being in the Matrix.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Sean, for having us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sean.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This episode of the MarTech Matrix was brought to you by the Cogent Collective, a community of marketing and e-commerce leaders. Learn more at cogentcollective.com. For show notes and information on upcoming episodes, head on over to the martechmatrix.com. If you would like to learn more about the companies appearing on this podcast and see if they're a good fit for your company, send Sean a note at sean@cogentcollective.com. New episodes of the MarTech Matrix podcast will drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast network so you can stay on top of what's happening in the Matrix.